What really will benefit a school system is actually investing in training and how to identify early indicators.
Training of the staff.
Staff or faculty, and and even
it could be
and even other
beyond
students,
secondary, right?
Even other students, right? Training them that have ability to say, listen, I've identified something with my classmate. I'm concerned about it. And who can I go to talk to about it or let them know about my concerns? Because it is a community effort. You can't shut down fellow classmates who might have some really good information and insights of what's going on.
Patrice, I'm going to do it again, right? I'm going to simulate. Let's take the case he said and let's apply what Patrick said to it, right? In order to get my child in special ed, what Mark said was, you have to have the permission of the parents, which you do, which means I've got to sit at the table with the staff, the team that he puts together that has done some evidence-based stuff, and he gives me my opinion. If I'm the kind of a parent, and we all know they're out there, don't you dare. I am not giving you permission. And the law says inside that school that without my permission, even though he may have evidence, I can't do anything about it? Is that?
The child can't unilaterally be placed in special education. They can certainly be given support that is short of that. Yes, some parents are in denial. Some parents don't want their child labeled. Some parents then withdraw their children from school.
Some parents won't come to the meeting.
Exactly, all those things. But if you create a school climate and a culture where, as Patrick said, students feel that they have the capacity to recognize when a classmate is struggling and know that there's someone that they can go to that they trust, that it's not tattling, that it's perfectly acceptable and actually encouraged, that you go to an adult and say, here's the situation, here's what I've observed, this is not how Johnny usually behaves, I think we need to help him.
Do you do this, Mark?
Yes, and I would say, so people ask, what are you doing for school security? And every time there's a shooting, whether it's in a school or in a community, people get nervous. I understand that, and I think Patrick said it best. One is too many. So what do we do for security? And we go through the laundry list. We have cameras. We limit the keyless, we limit access by doors. We have keyless entry. People need to show their license. We scan their license on the way in. We number the rooms. We have 3M security shield on first floor windows, so it should take a little bit longer for an intruder. We can list all of that, and then they still want more. They want the metal detectors. They want all these things. And I'm like, well, who's going to monitor the metal detectors all the time? And what if someone sneaks in at night and hides a weapon in one of our ceiling tiles? We can go back and forth, and I say, we're going to do all that because some of these are easy things to do. Some make just common sense. But if you want to know how we're going to stop the problems, we're going to get to know our students. And if we don't get to know the students, we have a climate suite of tools, a getting to know you survey, a climate survey that students, parents, and staff fill out. And then we have our newest endeavor is MPS Cares Speak Up. And it's a 24-hour a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, email, text, or call tip line. So even we hope students would be comfortable, have that positive adult where they can go say to their basketball coach, you know what, I'm very concerned. Patrice said this to me yesterday. I'm very concerned. I saw Patrick doing this. But if they're not, and they're still worried, they can do it anonymously. And I'll tell you, how we've prevented problems is because students have spoken up and parents have called us. And if you really want to stop it, we all have to be in this work together, and we have to say, if we heard something at the church or the synagogue, don't hesitate to report it, because you never know. Mm-hmm. We're never going to be able to force, because I have to wait for the action. I can have a hunch. I can suspect there's a problem. But if the action doesn't allow me to take action, I have to wait unless I can get the family on board. Mm-hmm. That's still a challenge we're facing.
Usually what happens and what it is that he describes is somewhere along the line, the law of unintended consequences comes up, right? And I'm going to continue to play devil's advocate, because I really think getting to the heart of this matter is tough, right? And I'm not trying to be cynical, but I can just see this happening. Mark calls me up, says, your son has got some issues, Patrick, right? Your son's got some issues. And I say, Mark, tell me something. How did you find out my son has some issues? Our law usually provides that we are, what's the right word? Not confronted with our accuser. We can face our accuser, right? So we said, I receive a tip. And I say, from whom? Well, because unless I know from whom, I want to know. And he gives me the name, and I say, he doesn't like my son. That's why he's saying those things.
Well, I think this is a little
God, I
different
wanna hear
in that
from both of you.
it's not a criminal activity. What we're looking at is a system that provides help and support. So no one is accusing your son. In fact, they're saying, we think that he could use some help. And here's a variety of ways that we could do this. And we can support you as a family as we get this student some help.
And it's the depth of the evidence. So when we look for evidence, how deep does it need to go? For some families, just the call from the school signals them, you know what, geez, I saw this at home. I'm so thankful you called. We're going to bring him to see his doctor. Others are a little bit more reserved, and we have to work through the process.
You know what, Mark? I buy that. I buy exactly what you and Patrice are saying. I really do, except there is going to be that parent, Patrick, that says, I don't want your help. And now it's 1 year from now, and that son commits the crime. Who's responsible?
Well, the son's responsible ultimately for committing the crime.
Right.
But to go back and talk about the initiation of the initial information that I received, if I'm the superintendent of schools, my call to the parent is, hey, listen, we're trying to provide you some assistance here. We have a concern.
Right.
Right, that's been brought. It's not accusing anybody of anything. It's just what was already spoken about. We have a concern. We would like to address this concern, and we need your help and participation to be able to successfully do this. Now, I don't know the legal aspects of it from a school standpoint, but if the answer is no, we don't want to, then maybe that student can no longer participate in the academic achievements within this institution.
Okay, now what is the answer?
So
I don't know.
Patrice is the lawyer, so I'll let her answer. But the quick answer is, no, we won't be able to do that. But schools don't sit idly by if a parent says, I don't see that, or is argumentative back, because we care about the kids too.
No, Mark. Let me reframe the question, because I want to make sure I make my point right. I'm not arguing the point you just made, right? What I'm saying is, it's 1 year later. I said no to you, and you can't do anything about that unless you're willing to go to the police and tell the police, I've got a problem with this child, and the parent refuses to listen to me. We're at a stalemate. Something happens. I want to know who's to blame.
Well, I think
is it the school system?
Ultimately it's the student. I think the family has a role, and if the school system didn't do some of these things, Jim, I would say the school system does. So the parent says, no, we're not going to counseling. Well, the parent can't stop me from having someone check in with their son or daughter every morning. The parent can't stop me from having the daughter or son placed in an advisory group once a week with the social worker or a psychologist who regularly does groups. We can be a little strategic and creative with these situations to protect ourselves and to protect the students in the building.